Well, hello everyone, People Work viewers. We are continuing our series, talking to our local representatives, local to Texas, local to, in our case, Dallas. We're at a local coffee shop. We're just keeping this local theme going. But today I'm getting to talk to Melissa Dennis, and she is running for state representative of North Texas. Welcome. Thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you.
Of course, I want you to introduce yourself formally to our audience, but also while you're introducing yourself, explain why in the world you would raise your hand to be a civic leader now.
Well, first off, thank you for having me here. My name is Melissa Denis. Actually, it's a French name.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No worries. Okay. I tell everybody, it's not the elbow.
Okay.
It's Denis.
Ah.
I married a French Canadian.
Okay.
So
we probably should have done that before.
That's okay. That's what that's part of my intro.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, everyone has asked me, why on earth are you doing this? And I just recently retired. I was a partner with KPMG for the last 25 years. So I was in the business world. And what I realized is that, you know, I am part of what I call this Texas miracle. And I want to be able to help others realize the dream, this Texas miracle. And so that's why I put my name in the hat, and I am going to do everything in my power to spread the empowerment to the people in Dallas County.
Well, of course, I understand what you mean by the Texas miracle, at least my interpretation of it. Just to brag on Texas a little bit, I know that we are the most economically sound state out of the 50th.
Ninth economic, we have the largest GDP in the world, the ninth largest economy in the world.
That's like no small feat.
Right.
And actually somebody told me last political round, and it could have honestly been 4 years ago for the presidential race, it was, or whatever we are, 2.5 years ago, that Texas bears the economic health of the United States most of the time, which is kind of a fascinating fact. I mean, it's a numerical fact. That's not a political statement. That's a numerical fact, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to get into a series of questions, of course, with Melissa.
Melissa.
Okay, so I'm going to say my middle name, and then we'll have a name challenge.
Okay.
Since my first name is easy. So my middle name is Naive.
Naive.
Yes. Well, okay. Well, she got it right. I'm just awful. I'm just awful at names. And my kids can probably attest to that too, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and this is really just so that our audience can get to know your point of view.
Wonderful.
And really reinforce, sometimes I think when we all assume like we're getting the flyers and we're getting the messages that this is a political conversation. But for you, I looked at your history, and you have a lot of purpose and intention with the things that you say.
Right.
And we want to make sure that obviously North Texas knows your point of view. And in particular, this is on one of her flyers. She has Innovate New High School Programs. And so we're going to focus on all of the things that she's going to focus on. We're going to focus on that particular one. So a lot of our questions, of course, because of what People Work does, is focusing on that. So one of your platforms is that to innovate new high school programs that offer work and school options for kids. What are the obstacles for this initiative for you?
Well, let me first just tell you a little bit more about my background and why this is really important to me. So when I was in high school, I was in a program where you worked a half a day and you went to school half a day. Oh, now, it wasn't that you were working on the side. It was part of the program that you worked half a day and went to school half a day. I worked at the age of 16 at the Texarkana National Bank.
Oh, wow.
So it was a program, and it was mostly geared toward kids that weren't necessarily going to go to college. So the idea was for you to have the ability to get some kind of skills while you were in high school. And so it really set me up. I mean, I learned how to dress, I learned how to show up on time, and I got paid. So it was a terrific way for me to get introduced to working. And I decided to go to junior college, and eventually transferred into the University of North Texas, where I got my master's degree. I'm actually a CPA with a master's degree in tax. And so for me, this whole idea about doing things in high school, because there are a lot of kids, they're not going to go to college. They don't want to go to college. There's no need for them to go to college. And so that was the purpose of doing this, is try to figure out how we can put more opportunities back in high school.
Okay, well, and because you have a corporate background, and
Right.
a lot sometimes, and I'm not saying that you have to have a corporate background to run as a civic leader, but I think particularly in your role that you're aspiring to have, it is a compliment.
Right.
It makes you more powerful and competent to be able to influence, the changes that you aspire to make. Okay, so in Texas, just to tack on to another factoid that maybe a lot of people don't know. And yes, people work, I know you're across the United States, I know some of you are in different countries, but I'm Texas. So you're gonna hear Texas conversations today. But most importantly, if you hear something that you'd like to know or explain about what's going on in your state, share, comment, let us know what's going on, because the more that we know about what we're all doing to benefit the future of work and the next generation and how we're influencing our government and judicial system, the better off we all are. So in Texas, we have the Texas 60 by 30 program. And the goal by a governor of it is that 60% of Texans that are 25 to 34 actually achieve post-secondary educational credentials by 2030. The program itself was launched over 5 years ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's been
a while. It might be even longer than that. It's been a while.
So it's been a while. So my question to you is, what do you think of it?
I think there are a lot of great merits to it, and I think it's admirable, because we know that people that have post degrees, they make more money. But I believe there are, again, we need to evolve the workforce in Texas. If we're going to attract big companies, we have to have a workforce. And so I believe there's some alternative things that it can start in high school that can bleed over to junior college, so that kids won't have an extraordinary amount of school debt.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am on the board of Regent at UNT.
Oh, okay.
So it's such a blessing. I mean, it's like full circle.
Yeah.
Right? I went there as a transfer student, and now I get the honor of handing out diplomas at graduation. So, but I see firsthand, I mean, we are a school where a lot of kids have come, they're first generation kids as well.
Yeah.
And they transfer oftentimes from junior college. And so the idea is, how can we make sure that all of it, whether it's in junior college, high school, that it's affordable. And so, we know that big companies need skilled tradesmen.
Yeah.
They need, biotech is coming here. There are a lot of alternative ways that we can get that education at the high school and at kind of the junior college level.
Yeah. And of course, that's PeopleWorks' message. We really try to get work and education to be in tandem
Right.
for the next generation, because there's so many Texas 60 by 30. I struggle with initiatives sometimes because they're just initiatives. It's like
Right.
someone decided to make a formal statement, but what happens after that? And so I lean towards the execution side. That's
Yeah.
what I
That's
focus
coming from the business world. I mean, that's what it's all about. You can have great plans, but if you don't have a strategy on how you're going to get it implemented, how you're going to measure it, and then how you're going to recalibrate, because when I worked for KPMG, we would do business with Fortune 500 companies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really come to you if they can solve it internally.
Of course.
So these are really complex issues. And so you would diagnose the issue, come up with a plan, innovate, recalculate. And so I think that we can do that in higher ed. I mean, I think we can do it in high school. I think we can do it at the University of North Texas. And so I just want to apply my business mindset and principles to government and make it more effective.
Effective in government. Woohoo! That's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
So actually, this is a good segue into my next question. And in case people who are watching are not aware, if you're a young adult and you're like, who are the adults that are messing with my future? Or if you're a parent and you're thinking, how did my kid end up with only these options? Or maybe you just didn't know these were options. In every state, there is a commissioner of high school education,
Right.
and there is a commissioner of higher education. So both Mike Morath and Harrison Keller, we've had conversations and we met with them both, and we understand that they have a like pillar. So both of them have set up their strategic initiatives, and one of those pillars, which is that we do better of connecting high school and they say to connect high school to careers and college. I say to connect high school and college to careers, which is
Right.
completely different. So how does your role, does your role as a state legislator influence that actually happening?
Well, a part of it is, I think, helping kids understand, what kind of profession they may want to get into, and what is the earning potential for that profession. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of my husband's partners has designed some software that allows a kid to say, okay, if I want to be a school teacher, here's what my potential earning power is of that. And if I go a 4-year degree at Baylor, maybe that's not a match on, is there value? I'm not saying there's not value of going to Baylor, of course
Right.
there is, but if you're going to be a school teacher, here's the information that you might want to know in advance so that you don't come up with a $300,000 student loan and not really understand that. And part of it is putting financial literacy back in high school.
Amen. Pause that. Amen.
When I was in high school, we called it something different. It was for girls, it was called home ec, and for guys, it was called something else.
Yeah.
But you were taught life skills.
Yeah.
You were taught how to have financial literacy, and those are not often taught for our kids. And if it's not taught at home, then
Right.
kids are not learning it. And so I think part of it is we need to help educate kids to say, okay, if this is really what I want to do, here's the pathway to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that we're doing at UNT, which I think is fantastic, is we're listening to businesses and say, here are the skills that we need.
Yeah.
And so how do we redesign the education to match those skills? I can say that when I was a partner with KPMG, we had a lot of kids coming out and starting with the firm that, they had certain skill sets that were missing. And so I think there has to be a better link between what businesses need and what some of the way things are kind of recalibrated within school, whether that's high school, whether that's junior college, or a 4-year degree.
Yeah, and a lot of ideas about how that gets executed, of course, has been out there. I mean, if you go to our Texas website today, you can. They've done it. The government actually has done a really good job of trying their best to keep up with fast-paced data and give. If somebody were to search on a job for whatever teacher, they've got models, they've got paths, they've got day in the life of. They have a lot of similar things that we offer inside of People Work, but the difference is that our user experience is relatable to young adults and people who have been on TikTok for the majority of their time, right? If you go to government, if you could do something like getting out of the green screen yes, that would be great. So the second to last question I have is, what legislation are you going to sponsor that will make it possible for the communities to experience the innovations that you'd like to see?
Again, I think it is redirecting funding to where it is the most effective to solve some of the issues. I'm not one in just spending more money to spend more money.
Yeah.
I think that we need to evaluate some of the programs that we have right now. I know there's a lot of career and technical schools, and I'm for investing in those. Again, evaluate, monitor, reevaluate. And if we have results that are positive, then I think we need to include, more funding for that. I really am big on these public-private partnerships and where companies can get involved and help direct what we're doing. So I'm new to politics. I was a business person for the last 30 years, and so I've got a lot to learn from a political standpoint and how government works. But I have a lot of ideas on of what we can do. It's just how we're going to get them integrated into the legislative aspect of that.
So one of the reasons why I would encourage anybody to take a look at who you are and your background is because of what you just said. I think people who started their professional lives as a politician, as somebody who is in civic service, who has not had to grind their teeth for performance,
Right.
understand that their salary is based on results,
Exactly.
not given to you through taxes. I think that's a fresh perspective that most people would want to see happen. I mean, obviously that's why I'm having the conversation with you, because I do want to see that happen. And actually this is a good, I think it's really a carry forward. You might have a different version of how you respond to that budgeting, but this is actually about budgeting. Public funding per student today averages about $12,500 per student, all the way from high school to college. So whether or not they start in high school and then they get a federal Pell Grant, or they get FAFSA, and FAFSA is being redone, but I still think it's going to end up the same numbers. But private school funding is actually $17,000, so almost $4,500 more than what our public students are getting. Obviously, public and private is good for competition. It's good for many things. I'm not challenging public or private, but I am saying on top of the $12,500, this was some information that kind of scared me. Not gonna lie, it pissed me off a little bit too. We spent $995 million on COVID.
Right.
We spent $40 million on safety cameras. Not to say any of that wasn't needed, but kind of was it needed? Because during COVID, that $995 million, we had a contradiction. We're gonna do all this personal protection equipment, we're gonna do all this sanitation, but we couldn't send kids to school.
Right.
So why did we spend the money on it? That's a separate conversation, but we are talking about budget. And then on the cameras, I just went to a really great event presented by the Dallas Regional Chamber, and it was all about education. And the superintendents of our districts, they were mentally fighting. Okay, great, you've given me these 3 pillars. You have a lot of civic leaders that know that we want to execute. We've been talking about connecting work to skills to education forever. How do we execute? And then you have these superintendents who are like, hey, I only have so much money and time in the day, and I just spent $40 million on security cameras so that my children don't get shot.
Right.
Like, what is that? That's so you're gonna have a lot, right?
Right.
To deal with and,
Yeah.
and cope with. So how are you going to help us prioritize funding? I mean, maybe that's a question to ask, because you only have so many dollars in the bank.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've actually met with a lot of educators, and I've met with some administrators, and all of them say that, and I even see it at UNT, it's not necessarily how much we spend, but how effective of the money that we are spending. I heard personally from a teacher, they're like, we think that enough is being spent. And, I know that's hard to believe, but that teacher told me that they think enough is being spent. It's not being spent in the right place.
Yeah.
So I think, we have to, and there are all kinds of competing agendas, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's life.
Yes.
I want to surround ourselves with all of the stakeholders. No difference than we would do in the business world. We'd have investors, we'd have employees, we'd have management, and you would have the stakeholders to say, okay, what is the outcome that we want? What is it that we're trying to accomplish here?
Yes.
And so trying to get more alignment with that, and again, maybe I'm naive, and I'm sure I am, but I want to be a warrior to say, all right, let's stay focused.
Yeah.
Let's not chase rabbits over here. If this is what our goal and objective is,
Stay in the lane.
Stay in the lane.
Yeah.
Don't get outside of it. Just swim in that lane.
Yeah. Well, we might see. Maybe you're not naive. Maybe you're just going to be effective.
I'm going to be laser focused, I can tell you. I'm not playing political games. I'm not going to get mad and take a plane and shut down the state like my opponent did. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, that's partisan politics, and
Yeah,
I'm here laser focused for the people of North Texas.
Yeah, which is great. Okay, we're going to go into some fun stuff now.
Okay.
This is we always do this for the last part of our conversations, and it's obviously because we do a lot with 16 to 26-year-olds, so we always have to stay relevant. Okay. We have to check our pop culture.
Well, I'm going to be in trouble then.
Well, either way, however your mind answers this, we always find entertainment, okay?
Oh, boy.
So the first one, what does it mean to chase the bag?
Oh boy.
You can raise.
Can I raise a, call a friend?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know.
So chase the bag means work and hustle for money.
Okay.
So you're chasing your bag, your coin bag, your money bag, so whatever it is, whatever your grind is, you're chasing the bag.
Chasing the bag. Now, where did that come from?
Who knows? I don't, I'd have to look. I'd have to recommend on what is it, NPR, when they do the whole history of phrases. We have to put that out to them.
Okay.
But actually, I learned it from content from some of our young adults when they said they were.
Well, I
chasing
should
the
have
bag.
asked my block walkers. They would definitely know because they're all 18 to 20 years old.
Yeah, you're gonna have to share
Yeah,
this one.
chase the bag.
Okay, next one is, what is woke fishing? Is it A, an adventure sport, B, the practice of pretending to support progressive causes to impress a date, or C, a dance created by Harry Styles?
B.
You are correct. Woke fishing is the practice of pretending to support progressive causes to impress a date. I learned about that through Vice.com.
Okay.
When I was looking at what are the new dating trends of the young adults, and they said one of the big turnoffs, even though they do a lot of dating online with online apps, is somebody pretending that they're socially woke and aware of differences and all of that, and they're really not. So now you know. Woke fishing. Don't do that.
I will not.
Don't do that. All right. So the oldest members of Gen Z are 25, and those that chose to go college first. What percentage of those do you actually think have jobs before they graduate? They're going to graduate in May. What percentage of those do you actually think have jobs?
Less than 50%.
Okay. Well, the answer is I don't know, because no one measures it. That's kind of a scary thing. So there is no statistical truth
Interesting.
to outcomes for education
right.
related to jobs.
Right.
Of course, that was a selfish question because people worked as outcomes measures all the time, but it was still a point. So the truth is that the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, says that there's 50.6 million students and only 50.60 million jobs that are going to be available throughout the year of 2022, which we're almost over, so that's about true. We're
Right.
trending in that direction. Only 27% of those will require a degree. And the other part to this that I thought was super fascinating is that 47% of the workforce currently has a college degree, but only 14.9% actually equate to getting a job. So 21 million of these graduating kids are going to be overqualified with that debt that we mentioned.
Right.
So obviously I wanted to end the conversation with that little kind of factoid as well, because of one of the things that you're passionate about and you want to help to change.
To me, it's a Texas miracle, and it is providing alternative pathways to, your joy and your purpose in life. And it's not necessarily a 4-year degree. It might be. It might start out to be something different and end up there. But I would love to see kids with their potential, chasing their dream, and us helping them succeed in that.
Yeah. So chasing the bag.
Chasing the bag.
Now you know.
Chasing the bag.
Well, thank you so much for the
Yes.
conversation.
It's my
and
pleasure.
viewers, I hope that you've learned something and you go out there and vote, learn more.
Yes.
If you go to, it's actually and I should have known there was a different way of saying your name because of how it's spelled. It's MELISADENIS. As you
Not
find,
to elbow, Denis. It's House District 115, and the election is November the 8th.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.